The Strain Season 2, Episode 6, Identity. Now, coming straight off of Episode 5, we went right into this one, and we had that crazy ending. Like, F made it to DC, and we have, like, the sort of pseudo bonus credit scene where this random person comes into New York, and he's obviously one of the, I guess what we can now call elevated vampires, where he's completely conscious. He doesn't have to feed on people or anything like that, or he doesn't have to spread the virus to other people and turn them or anything. He has his own will and mindset. And this episode really gave us a great expansion on both those, sort of ending moments of the last episode. Like, that's really what was focused on in this one. We had some other moments, of course, kind of focusing more on Kelly and the kids and her finally finding Zach, at least for a little bit of time. But it was a really great episode. We got to see really early on, actually, Gus get put back into the show, and him and Angel having their conversation, and Angel finally admits it because he's tired of Gus talking to him, that he is the person there. And it didn't really dawn on me before, but with him having been this amazing wrestler, back in the day, even if it was like, fake movies and stuff, he still had those skills. He still had the physique and the talent to move the way that he did, and he still does a little bit, which we got to see in this episode. And that was a really awesome scene for Gus too. Like, they go in, excuse me, they all go to do the delivery, which I thought was really funny. They decided to just take both of them, and so they go in, and then it's like, all right, everything's fine, and here comes a vampire just strolling down the hallway. And so, Gus, like, pushes them back, and he just has, like, it was almost like Assassin's Creed for anyone who hasn't played it. All the characters have these little hidden blades. They're just gauntlets, on the bottom of their wrist, and they just do that, and they come out, and that's how you, like, do assassinations in the game. And that's what it was like. He just had, like, a mini little, like, just a hatchet, just boom, right out of his sleeve, and he just destroys this thing, like, full silver. It actually looked really cool, too, for, like, the split second you really see it swinging through the air. But it's just like, back up, boom, here's a hatchet, and then he just hits the thing in the head. And then Angel takes down the second one, or he at least, dodges it and, like, pins it against the wall. And Gus takes that one down too, and so they all take off. And it was a great scene. And it kind of sucked that was the last scene we got, which I wasn't thinking about it when I was watching it. I was just kind of enjoying everything that was happening because there was a lot going on, really just in the beginning of this episode. So it does kind of suck that was the only portion that they were actually a part of, and it seemed like a really big moment. And then it's like, man, we kind of worked together and survived two vampires. And then it was kind of just like, that was sort of the end of that little storyline. But I think Angel is actually going to teach Gus a couple more moves, because he learned a little bit. He obviously learned how to dodge and fight back with no actual weapons from the team beforehand, and he can learn a couple moves from Angel as well, just to be a little bit more agile, certain techniques, things like that, if they do get really close to him. And I think that's really cool, and they kind of hint a little bit, possibly, towards the fact that Gus might get pulled back into working with the Masters, because we do get the answer as to who this guy is that came in the last episode, and we actually find out that he's the one who taught the former team that was taken down, and he mentions, like, I trained them to be better, and they failed us. So now I'm going to take care of it myself. And I like this guy's position because he's obviously the one that had to be called in because his team wasn't strong enough. And he's the one who comes in, but he has this sort of really high status within their society where he gets to talk to them in a certain way where he's like, he's mad. He's like, you guys looked the other way for too long. You should have taken him down like 7 years ago, if not 7 centuries. And he's like full on yelling at them. And that's what made me think initially that he was a master. And then he mentioned, like, I don't like to see you guys this way and stuff like that. So I'm here. I'm going to take care of it for you. So he's not a master, but he obviously is, well respected enough by the masters to know that he can kind of say what he wants because they made their mistakes, and now they have this catastrophe on their hands that even they don't want. Like, it's spreading, biggest city, in the country basically is just almost overrun completely. And it's like, yeah, we don't want this. Like, even though it's spreading them across the, country, It's like, we don't actually want that. We need to just, not have that happen at all. And they want to wipe this whole thing out. So he comes in, and I'm really excited to see him fight. And he did mention, he was like, when he was wounded, I felt him. So I want to know who was the one that got close enough to actually hurt him. So he has to be led to the rest of the team. He has to be led to Satrakian enough. And I don't know which one that they would choose. I don't know, with that connection, what information they really have. But they did bring in Satrakian, so they do know who he is. And it's like, oh, okay, well, they're going to bring him in, and then that's going to kind of reel in the rest of the team. And of course, that's, still away, which I'll definitely get to his craziness. But I'm excited for that like crazy, because he can teach them a little bit more that they might not know. And then, Gus possibly getting pulled back into it as one of the human hunters, as the guy put it. So I was really excited for that. I thought it was incredibly well done. It was a little scene for him, but it was a nice setup for his character to be like, okay, he's not a master, but he's definitely been around long enough to know that the villain master of the series should have been taken care of. The other masters were way too lenient with him because he was kind of like the wild child, apparently, and just kind of did things, however he wanted to do them, which apparently is to just spread the virus because that's what he feels. And that's not how they do things. They kind of, I guess, just keep it controlled. I don't know. Like, we still don't really know what their sort of creed is, or like what they say, like, this is, this much of the population can be turned, but we leave like, 80% or 90% left. We only turn like 10%. And then, of course, this is, totally different from that. It's almost like just everything's being wiped out. But I like the introduction. We got some answers from him. We don't really learn too much else. That was pretty much it. We got to see the woman again in the beginning where she's in the truck. And we still don't really know how she knows him or how she's involved in any of this stuff. It's just like, she picked him up last time. She got him in the truck. Then they went back to the car, and that was it. She gives the truck to the homeless guys. Like, there's like 2,000 pounds of frozen shrimp. There you go. And then that was pretty much it for her character as well. But it was cool. I'm really excited. Based on the trailer, he has some scene where he's just screaming. So there's something big going to happen with his character next week that I'm really excited to check out. Of course, F being in DC, I thought that was really cool. It was fun to see that just go right for him. And then it just all fell apart at the end. Like, everything was just going great. It's like, alright, we got a deal. His buddy set him up to meet the woman. It's like, alright, I'll talk to my people. They said yes. F and her sleep together, which was an interesting scene, because I was like, I don't know if I'm okay with that. Because, I guess he's with Nora, so it's kind of like cheating, but I guess in a sense he was also cheating on his wife, so I guess, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're an actual couple or what, but it was just like, I don't really know what to think of it. I don't know, but I don't know if it's cheating or just why. And that always seemed interesting. It was just like, what is he doing? Like, he's just randomly making out with this woman. So they do it, and then everything just keeps going well. And as soon as they got to the house, and they're like, trying to say like, hey, where are you? And he didn't respond. The first thing that came to my mind was that he was dead. And I was kind of hoping, like, when his phone went straight to voicemail, I was like, oh, well, maybe he is really just with a woman. And then it was like, oh, let's run upstairs and stuff. And I was like, no, he's really dead. And he was, like, assassinated. Like, they had a hitman come to the guy's house, killed him, held F up in the woman. Then he killed the woman because, of course, like, no witnesses. So he's like, just run. And the guy just shoots her. F actually manages to kill that guy. He finds out that, it's Stoneheart. The big question for me is, how did they know where he was? Because, I don't know who they were following or what information or what it could have possibly been. And I think the only answer I can really think of is the fact that he killed the one guy in the last episode. When he fell off the train, they found his body, they found him dead. And it's like, okay, something's got to be happening here. Like, there must be something that's going on. And with everything that happens, with the vampires and stuff, they've seen every character in this episode. They've seen every single other person. And so maybe that's how they figured it out. Like, okay, we haven't seen Ev. he's the one that we need to take down. He's somewhere. We need to hire a hitman, and I'm sure they have, their whole inner workings as far as in the government. Like, there's this big chemical thing that's supposed to fight the virus in New York. I'm sure that was all over the place, and it was fairly easy. Like, okay, it's either F or Nora, and they, had vampires see Nora like all throughout the episode. So, or at least at night, I guess, not all throughout the episode. But I guess that's how they figured it out. He escaped. I don't know what the heck he's gonna do now. Based on the trailer, it seemed like he did make it back home though. But that really sucked. It was like his friend gets killed. She gets killed in front of him. He gets shot in the arm, and he manages to kill the guy off. But that was just insane to me. It was like everything was just going great. It's like, all right, this is happening, that's happening. He of course can't go back in and fight it because for one, they hired a hitman. They'll just hire another one. And two, he couldn't use his name to begin with, and that's why he had the woman as the one like backing everything up and using her name to promote it because they wouldn't believe him or trust him in any way, shape, or form. And it just really sucks. It was like everything was going great, and then it just came crashing down at the end. He just saw like a friend he's known for years killed. He saw a woman die right in front of him, and he had to kill another guy so he wouldn't be killed. And it was just crazy. Like, I don't know what to really expect. This character from the last episode and this one is probably at some of the biggest changes in development he's ever had. He had to kill a guy in the last episode who was officially dead because I mentioned that he may not have actually died and just had like some serious injuries, and that's how he'd get busted. But I guess his death in general is kind of what led to F being busted. So he killed that guy. He saw two people dead in front of him, and he had to kill a second guy in order to actually survive. Now he has this phone, which if he takes it back home, I'm sure Dutch will be able to crack it open. But it was just crazy. Like, it was just sheer madness. It was like everything's going great, and then just boom, it's all messed up for him. So that was just a big problem. It kind of sucked, but the show would probably be over much faster if that did actually work. So excited to see what happens when he gets back home. Of course, Kelly finding Zach was really awesome in this episode. I thought that was actually pretty amazing. It wasn't as dangerous as I thought. It was a much shorter scene than I was actually expecting, but it was a really cool scene. Like, they jumped the car. Of course, the cop gets killed. I knew that was gonna happen. He's like, you guys stay here. He's dead. Fortunately, Nora didn't die because I'm like, she's not gonna have them kill Zach, but she doesn't give a crap about Nora. She might have her killed off. Fortunately, they both end up living, and she's able to even trick Kelly with the scarf and stuff, so that was pretty smart. I was confused how they got out of that room because they end up, on the outside, and they push the little, the bookshelf against the door. And when Kelly's like banging on the door, I'm like, well, if they somehow got out of there while you were walking in and stuff, you could just, walk around and no big deal. But, they escape, and then I don't know why she didn't leave. Also, that's just a TV thing where they make people do dumb stuff. Because I'm like, why wouldn't she just run out the building instead of hiding when they're obviously, sniffing and stuff? And then they kind of did the CG thing where they were jumping over the pews and things, which I thought was actually pretty cool because they weren't doing that. And I was like, well, they've established super speed now, which that's just another TV thing where anyone has super speed. Is like, really, there's like no one would ever just do regular motion unless it involved another person where they had to be in regular speed. But it's like, if you're hunting, you go as fast as you can. You take this woman down and you get the kid. But once again, it's a TV thing. And then the cavalry arrives. They come in just guns blazing and stuff. Don't know where Vet was, or where Dutch was, sorry. She was kind of just missing in this episode. But they come in, just shooting up the place. It was kind of cool. And then, of course, Palmer's former assistant, I never even bothered to remember his name, which really sucks because he died in this episode. But he gets bit, and that really sucked. I was like, he decided to come in and help. I thought he'd be a main cast member again like he was in the last season, and he would kind of join the group. He'd give them they did it all in the beginning. Like, he didn't really have any answers. He just knew, like, this location, that location, and some other places. But I don't really know what's going on there. I just know he bought these places, and he hired these companies that typically build like maximum security prisons and stuff. So he gave him all the help that he could. And then he gets bit in the leg, and it's like, oh well, he's dead. He came back to help, and then he gets killed off, and that sucked. I was like, I thought, like they'd warm up to him and stuff. Like Zach didn't really like him in the beginning, and they had a little funny scene there. But I was like, okay, he's gonna join the group. They're gonna be okay with him. He's gonna help out as much as he can, and it's just gonna go how it is. And technically, it did. It just all happened in one episode, and then he died. So that kind of sucked. But he gets bit. He didn't want to turn, and Satrakian just decapitates him. Like he did it quick too. It wasn't. It was very different than most TV things where it's like they get to finish their sentence. This is like an old dude who's like, I tell you, you said you wanted it done, and he was obviously about to say just make it quick, and before he even finishes, his head is gone, and it's just like, man, he took care of business, and that's something you don't really see in most TV shows, which I enjoy. Like Satrakian has been doing this for so long that he's a good guy who just has to do it. Like he doesn't waste time. It's like you decided you don't want to turn. I'm not gonna let you turn. I'm just gonna do this. I don't. I got your words for your brother. Done. So it sucked that he died. I did kind of hate those. Like I thought he'd be joining the cast again, and really working with the good guys this time. And sadly, he just got killed off. So that really sucked. But he did help. We even got to see some of the locations with Icorst and the Rockstar guy, whose name I just really don't remember at all. But we get to see them like in these couple of places. Palmer went to meet Icorst. I love that scene as well when he was like, tell the master like he's either ignoring me or avoiding me, and but he's doing so at his peril. He's like, for your sake, I'm not gonna say any of that stuff. And then they just went to the next scene. I thought that was really funny. And then we get Icorst and the master as well as the Rockstar guy. And he thought that he was going to be the new body for the master. And he was like super mad. He was like all upset and was about to cry stuff. He's like, what's happening? And then he realizes that the master kind of wants him as his right hand man. Like he doesn't want to take over that body because he wouldn't have someone that he can trust who he's had for centuries now. So it does make perfect sense that he wouldn't take over the body of someone and like control the mind of the person that's actually good. Like he's the only person who knows the rules and has done everything perfectly. Like he, even in the last season, like even the way he feeds on people, he locks them up in like this random white room, puts them on a block, and just feeds on them. And that's how he does it for days on end. And I don't think anyone else has that sort of precision. So it's like he didn't take Icorst's body because he needs that person who actually does the job that he needs done. And it made sense. I thought it was pretty cool. And so, the master is now in a new body. The way that they ended it was pretty interesting because he wasn't like huge, like the giant lumbering master. He was like an actual person in makeup, which looked really gross because they had the scene where it looked way worse. Like him being burnt by the sun, like it was so simple initially, but it was almost like he was in the sun for so long that it was a gradual effect, and that's how they did it. And it just looked kind of gross. Like his face got worse and worse, and it was like a part of his shoulder was like completely missing. Like right here was just like completely see through, and his face was all messed up. So it looked really gross, and I thought that was kind of well done. But he switches. There's a new younger body. Seems like he's gonna kind of take things to them now, and that was kind of seemingly a big fight scene that's going to take place with him and Satrakian and the other guy that the Masters called in for this episode. So I'm really excited. Like it was a great episode. I still enjoyed the last one more because of the whole F thing and whether or not he was going to get busted really was really intense, and how the characters really spread out. I really loved it in the last episode. But this one was definitely a great one too. We got a lot of the expansions on like all our big questions. What's going to happen with F and DC? What's going to happen now that things have kind of been shut down? He was almost killed. And then the Master has a new body and just all this other stuff that's going to be happening now. And the team also knowing about the set locations and what the Master has planned for, or at least what, that they have these locations and they have really big companies coming in to build some sort of insane facility. So I'm excited for next week's episode for sure. Can't wait to see the one guy fight and just pull out that sword and see what he does and who he chops up. That should be fun to see. the team getting back together and F telling them like this is what happened when I went to DC and it was going up and then it just plummeted when I was almost shot in the brain. But I'm excited. I love this episode. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this one. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know what you guys thought about Kelly finally finding Zach in this episode. Like, it was actually really quick. And like I said, it was much shorter than I expected. I thought for sure that it was going to be she found them at their new base and they'd have to find yet another base, in this season. But, they randomly find them. Like, the kid just jumped in front of the car, like, I found him, and then gets hit. So, they had to send, they're going to have to track him again, and I don't know. And once again, no real clue, because I don't live in New York, no real clue how far away they are, even though they say, like, this is where they are, and this is where the base is. I still don't know any differences, space and stuff like that. So, maybe if you live in the city, or you just know the map or whatever, you guys can tell me. But I enjoyed this scene. I'm excited to see what happens the next time she interacts with the team, because she lost both the kids in this one, because they shot the one kid, and then after the second kid hit the guy, Satraki and decapitated that one. So she lost both the kids, and those were seemingly the last couple that she had, and the one kid that got hit by the car. And those are the only three we saw in the last episode as well. So she's by herself now. She has to get more kids. So I'm actually really curious to see how they play that. Like, if she comes back with more kids, or they do something to change and make them somehow even stronger, like already able to track people down and run it and jump, at super speeds and stuff. I'd love to see how they kind of upgrade her character as a villain, because I think that would be really interesting. But I enjoyed the scene. It was something I've been waiting for, and it was an exciting scene with a fairly exciting ending when they just burst through the doors. They're just like shooting. They're missing, of course, but they're just shooting and stuff. But I definitely loved the scene. Like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about that, as well as the episode in general, and of course, what you guys are expecting for next week's episode. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.